Tech. Today, Webcast Wednesday invites you to a special presentation in which Paul Anderson with Area Networks will talk about deploy security and app delivery on network functions platform with Area Networks. Let's look at today's agenda. So we are going to start with introducing FineTech. Then we're going to do our today's presentation by Paul, followed by Q&A. And finally, we're going to do our two drawings for $25 Amazon gift card. So for those who are not familiar with FineTech, we are a value-added distributor that specializes specifically in network security and IT security solutions. We work with Fortinet, Area Networks, AlgoSec, Bradford Networks, Exablocks, IBM, and Recmount IT. So these are the companies that we distribute products of. And the services that we provide include inventory. So we are one of the value-added distributors that would hold inventory for customers well-built. We provide financing. We give you flexible payment methods. We do sales support from initial quote to close. Any marketing support like events, webinars, advertising campaigns, and any technical services from demo to deployment. So if you need an extra hand, we supply hand to the demand. So that's about us. And before I hand it over to Paul, let me brief you on his bio and what the webinar will cover. So Paul Anderson is the Senior Director of Marketing at Area Networks. He has over 20 years of experience in networking and has served in various marketing capacities for Cisco Systems, Tasman Networks, and Sun Microsystems. And Paul holds a bachelor's degree in marketing from San Jose State University. And Area Networks, it's a network functions platform company that allows virtualized network and security functions to be deployed with guaranteed performance. Area is new to FineTech vendor catalog and is ideal for resellers with customers that want the agility of virtual appliances, but also required both guaranteed performance and higher level of performance and support of SLAs and business critical applications. So in this introductory webinar, we will discuss network functions platform, network functions ecosystem, Area product portfolio, and Area total value and partner programs. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Paul to further explore the subject.
Thank you, Avani. So I'm going to go ahead and click my share screen here, and hopefully all goes according to plan. Desktop share screen, that looks good.
Yeah.
And let me go to slide mode here. All right, I think we're good.
Okay.
All right, thank you. All right, so thank you, Avani. As Avani mentioned, my name is Paul Anderson. I'm a Senior Director of Marketing here at Area Networks. The topics for the agenda was touched on briefly there, but I'll just quickly reiterate, what we're going to be doing here on today's webinar. So a bit of introduction and housekeeping. For the most part, I'm going to be doing or presenting the majority of today's webinar. But because we are a new partner to FineTech, I want to take a little bit of time and also give an opportunity for a couple other people from FineTech and from Array to make some introductions and kick off this relationship just at a high level before we get into the meat of the presentation. And again, some of you may have a familiarity with Array Networks, but there may be some people that are new to Array Networks as well. So, and also, Array is moving into some new products, some new technologies, and so you may be familiar with some of what Array has done in the past, but we are doing some new things now, such as what we'll be touching on in today's webinar. So I want to give you that background, that overview, to build some awareness around Array Networks. The topic of today's webinar, and really the solutions that we think a number of partners are going to be interested in, is this deploying of app delivery, networking, and security on network functions platform. As the network functions platform company, this is what Array is all about. And in a way, it's an awareness webinar, but also in some ways, a partner recruitment webinar as we are looking to expand our partner footprint. So one of the things that you want to be considering is, does reselling Array make sense for my business? There's going to be many of you where it will. But perhaps there's not a strong alignment for some people. I think we're going to go into a little bit about helping you make that decision. And if you like what you hear today, and you think that becoming a reseller of Array makes sense, I want to talk a little bit about becoming a partner and some of the things that we do for partner enablement. And of course, hopefully I can get through the material, reasonably quickly, and that we can have some time for some questions and answers. And so just a bit of housekeeping. As I mentioned, my name is Paul Anderson. I'm a Senior Director of Marketing here at Array Networks. But also joining me on the call here today from Array is Rich Siegel, our VP of Sales, and also David Yang, who was the first person I talked to at FineTech, actually, Senior Director of Support Product Development at FineTech. And between the three of us, it's kind of how this partnership got kicked off. So before I go on, I'd like to give just a couple of moments here for both Rich and David to maybe say a few words about this new relationship, and then I'll take it from there.
So David, if it's okay with you, I'll go first. This is Rich Siegel. Thank you for joining us today. As Paul mentioned, I'm responsible for sales in North America as well as Europe, as well as business development. So we signed and executed the agreement with FineTech. So FineTech was already an authorized distributor for not only the platform that you're going to learn about today, but also the rest of our product line, which include application delivery controllers or load balancers and secure access gateways. So we look forward to this relationship, working with not only with FineTech, but working with their resellers and their regional sales managers, and working on opportunities together. So this is a real important relationship for us, and I'm glad that it's now kicked off. That's really all I have to say.
Thanks, Rich. David, anything that you want to add to that?
Yes, thank you, Paul. Thank you, Rich. Appreciate your support. We put this off within a very short time because we do want to kick it off, the partnership on the second quarter of 2017. We have a great quarter, last quarter on the 2017. The revenue growth is more than 25%. It's a great quarter. Thanks for all the resellers community. So now this quarter, we bring a very important partnership with Array Network. Array has very solid technology and product, well recognized in the market. And as all the resellers know that FineTech always strive to make a reseller community successful. We're here to help you to grow the business. And Array Network is definitely a very important factor of the whole thing. Without further ado, I'll hand it over to Paul again. And feel free for any questions, any issue, any suggestion. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so on the topic of Q&A and so on and so forth, if you do have any questions along the way, I know the graphic here is a graphic that we use. We typically use the WebEx platform, but in the Zoom meeting platform here, I can clearly see there's a chat window and a Q&A window in here. So just go ahead and use that the exact same way. If you have questions along the way, go ahead and type those in there. I should be able to see those at the end. And as I mentioned, I'd like to get through this, and then you'll get into some specific questions that you may have. So without further ado, as I mentioned, some of you are familiar with Array. For some of you, you may be new to Array. So just a quick background. We've actually been around, a fair while. I'd say over 15 years at this point. And although, maybe the best way to look at this is back in 2000, Array was actually the pioneer in, what we now call application delivery controllers. Back in 2000, all anybody was doing was simple load balancing, right? And Array was the first to pioneer that concept of rolling in additional layer 4 through 7 services into an integrated product. And we called that integrated traffic management or traffic manager. So we've been doing that. We were the first to do it. We've been doing it for a long time. We're very good at doing it, rolling in things like the SSL offloading, connection multiplexing, caching, compression, web application security, traffic shaping, bringing all those into one product. So we've been doing that for quite a long time. Headquartered here in Milpitas, so very close to FineTech, actually. Silicon Valley, Bay Area, in California, but we are a global company. So, today's, obviously we're focusing on here with North America and Europe, North America particularly with FinTech, but we are a global company and we do have a strong presence in other markets such as particularly APAC with China, India, Japan, and other regions around the world. Just over 250 employees, so a fairly sizable organization with a good chunk of those here in North America. The market that we play in, I would say, even though we are focusing in somewhat and breaking some new ground with the network functions platform that we're going to talk about today, the majority of our history, the area we've been in, application delivery and security, that's the market we play in, right? And, you look at our product, the application delivery controller that we've had for a long time, as well as the SSL VPN, the secure access gateway that Rich mentioned. We've had that for, 12 plus years now as well. So both those products, very robust, very feature rich, very reliable, very scalable, strong product lines. And the newest product line, which is kind of why I say it's coming full circle here, is because again, we're pioneering something new, and which is the network functions platform, which is what we're going to talk about and learn a little bit more about today. In terms of the segments that we play into, historically, we played into the enterprise market. A distinction there, Array is probably not the best fit for the SMB or the small and medium business, just due to the nature of, our products, right? They're really enterprise class products. So medium enterprise, large enterprise, and, public sector organizations, government, education, these have been some traditional markets in addition to, I'd say, healthcare, financial services within the enterprise markets. These have been some of our stronger markets. The one thing to note, though, is with the emergence of cloud over the last 4 or 5 years, we have seen strong pickup in terms of demand from software as a service providers, infrastructure as a service provider, managed service provider, kind of cloud hosting service providers that want to offer some of these networking and security services as a service to their customers. And so we've seen these types of customers buy solutions from Array and then resell them as utility or subscription services to their customers. So at this point, enterprise, public sector, and cloud service provider are our primary markets. And we have a strong technology portfolio. One of the things that really differentiates Array from some of the alternative solutions is we do take the extra time to develop technologies ourselves, whether that's our speed core, our multi-processing architecture, or it's our proprietary SSL stack, right? Many other vendors use OpenSSL for a lot of the security-related features, right? And you've heard of things like Heartbleed, Ghost, Shellshock, Bash, a number of vulnerabilities that have affected some of our competitors out there because they use OpenSSL. We haven't been affected by that. We haven't had to remediate or patch. Our customers haven't had to do that. And a lot of that ties back into having a strong technology portfolio that we develop ourselves for higher performance, but also for higher security. So we've been around a while. Over 15 years and over, global presence, over 5,000 customers at this point in time. And you can see some of those customers down below. SoftLayer IBM, which is essentially Bluemix now, all the load balancing services they offer from their cloud, that's all powered by Array load balancing technology. And you can see a good mix of, different industries and some different size enterprise organizations there. And coming back to the topic of today's webinar, enabling virtual network and security functions with guaranteed performance. That's what we're going to talk a little bit more about now. So to kind of set the context here, one of the things that we're noticing, you're probably noticing from your customers is, you used to just sell big iron boxes all day long. It does, each particular function from each vendor, you'd have a range of hardware appliances, and that's what you had to sell, right? But things are changing, and what you're probably seeing out there is customers want to buy virtual appliances. They want to buy, whether it's, networking, app delivery, security, firewall, IPS, IDS, web app firewall, these types of things that they're saying, I want to buy that in software. I want to run it on my server in a virtualized environment. You may even, run into a case where someone says, I don't need to buy that from you. I bought that function on a utility basis from a cloud provider, which that's happening too, right? So this is what we're seeing out there, that the software component of the market is growing. It's not going to fully replace the hardware, right? You look, even towards 2019 there, you still see that the blue and the yellow still half the market, right? That's hardware. But you see that the software is growing, and it is growing slightly at the expense of the hardware. And this creates, just new challenges and new offerings that we have to be able to offer, new deployment models that we have to be able to offer to these customers. So there's a catch though, right? So why isn't software going to take over the whole market, right? It's because right now what we're seeing is that there's a trade-off, right? So, if you look at the hardware, the purpose-built appliances that people have been buying for the longest time, right? They're purpose-built, they're hardware accelerated, they have guaranteed performance. So the benefit to them is performance, right? But it comes at the expense of agility, right? You're not going to get that agility that people are seeing with software. It's not portable. You can't spin it up on demand. You can't resize it. You can't, deploy one thing one day, deploy something else the next day. It is what it is. It sits where it sits. It's got to be installed, all these kinds of things. So it's got its pros, it's got its cons. If I look at something, the virtual appliance, well, the reasons why people are really buying into the virtual appliance is because it's far more agile. I can spin it up remotely. I can spin it down remotely. I can deploy it in one location. If I need to, I can put that license somewhere else, deploy it somewhere else. Just a lot more agility, and in some ways a lot more efficiency too. They can consolidate some of these functions into a very homogeneous virtualized environment. And so these are some of the benefits of the virtualized approach. But again, trade-off. You take the performance hit, right? It's running on general purpose commodity servers. You have a performance penalty right off the bat because of the hypervisor overhead. You deploy something on a VM, you deploy other things on other VMs in a server, now they fight for resources and we have a problem. And, or just for example, things that are more compute intensive like SSL encryption, they don't have dedicated SSL encryption cards that really speed those things along, right? So if you're doing a lot of that, you're going to bog down the performance of everything as well. So hopefully this paints the picture. And this is what we're seeing. Hop ahead here, a second, but what we're seeing is customers, coming to us, and because, cloud is hot, virtualization is hot, software is hot, SDN is hot, whatever, they come to us with, I want your functions, I want your product, but I want it in software, I want the virtual. And then we start talking to them about their requirements, the use case, the deployment, how many users, how many sessions, how many transactions, how complex is the configuration? You have a lot of SSL. We go through these checklists, right? And at the end we go, okay, technically you could do it with a virtual appliance or with many of them, and we could get it to work. But I could solve that whole problem in one shot with this one appliance right here, and it's simple and you're done, and it actually costs less. And so we see that use case dictates right now, and depending on the nature of an application, they go one way or the other, depending on which one best suits. But the truth of the matter is that really we want both, right? We want agility at scale. People are only going to put up with this trade-off for so long. They want something that can give them the best of both worlds. They need the performance. They want the agility, but they need the performance. And so what are some examples of, some of those things where you need agility at scale, right? Well, application security. This can be very compute intensive, right? You have the HTTPS encryption, decryption. You have compute intensive layer 7 attack prevention, such as next-gen firewall capability, web app firewall capability, etc. Asking a general purpose server to do that, especially for a lot of customers, a lot of applications, heavy duty traffic, it could be problematic. Business critical applications, right? So, for applications where, the virtual can maybe save me a little bit of money, or it's a little bit, easier to do certain things and gives me a little bit of agility. The truth of the matter is that it doesn't outweigh the benefits of that application being up and running. this is a business critical application. It's got to be on 24/7 and have good performance. And the bottom line is that I'm going to deploy, I need performance. I need hardware in order to ensure that thing is working the way it is, providing guaranteed performance for essential functions such as ADC and WAF. So again, another instance where virtual may not be the best fit when these apps have to run and have to run at a high level. And lastly, where you would want guaranteed performance or, agility at scale. And this is not comprehensive, but I'm just calling out, some of the common ones we're running into is as a managed service provider or as an infrastructure as a service provider. And I'm not talking about the very, very basic, elastic load balancing, small stuff, right? I'm talking about, I'm a managed service provider. I have an enterprise customer and they want demonstrable SLAs for what they're buying, right? They're going to put business critical applications on some of these server, storage, networking, security services they're buying. They want SLAs. They want to get what they paid for. And performance is a factor there as well, delivering guaranteed performance, for services such as load balancing, ADC, WAF, next-gen firewall, and SSL VPN. So when I say people are not going to put up with, or they want the best of both worlds, they want agility at scale. These are some of the use cases where we're seeing that. And so that's the buildup. And the product and the solution that Array is bringing to the table is the network functions platform, right? And so eliminate this trade-off with Array and with Array solutions. So this is the network functions platform. And you'll see that it brings the agility of cloud and virtualization. So it's a hardware platform we provide. However, it's been virtualized. So it is a multi-tenant virtualized environment that's capable of running multiple VMs, up to 32 VMs. However, it's still a purpose-built, dedicated networking and security appliance. It's got all the best components in terms of SSL acceleration, in terms of CPUs, processors, in terms of using SRIOV for interfaces, for memory and things of that nature. So it can provide the performance you need. It can host VMs, but for those VMs, it can give guaranteed performance for each VM. And we'll go ahead and show you a little bit, under the hood. Well, first we'll talk about some of the three pillars or some of the three defining characteristics of the network functions platform. So as I mentioned, it's a virtualized platform, hardware appliance, hypervisor-based VM environment, but purpose-built for app delivery, networking, and security. Because businesses desire the agility of software, but increasingly aware of the need for agility at scale. It's got guaranteed performance. How do we do that? I'll go into it a little bit more in a second, but we provide dedicated CPU and memory per VM, and we use SRIOV for SSL and for the interfaces, and we have dedicated SSL and interfaces per VM. So per virtual machine, you're getting reserved CPU, SSL, memory, and interfaces. In addition, on the platform, we're carving out and reserving resources specifically for hypervisor management, such that the need to perform those functions don't interfere with the resources that we've allocated to run the virtual machines. Everything's been carved out, everything's been reserved. So private clouds that need guaranteed performance for mission critical apps, public clouds need guaranteed performance for customer SLAs. And public cloud, you can kind of read that as, MSP, infrastructure as a service, and so on. And finally, this is another very unique pillar of the platform value proposition, is it's an open architecture. So, as I mentioned earlier, Array has been offering virtual ADCs and load balancers for a long time. We've been offering, virtual SSL VPNs for a long time. You can run those virtual network functions on this platform, and you can get performance equivalent to hardware appliances. It's guaranteed performance. However, and this is where it gets interesting for a lot of you partners, is it can also host best-of-breed, open source, or value-oriented software from third-party vendors. And over time, Array is building an ecosystem of these third-party technology providers that we've certified to run on the platform. So yeah, businesses aren't one size fits all. Some want best-of-breed, some want value, others want to host cost-effective DevOps-centric solutions, open source stuff like that. As long as it can run in a KVM environment, it can run on this platform and enjoy the benefits of the platform. This is a little bit of, as I was mentioning, a little bit of the looking under the hood. So the stuff that's in the whitish gray area, these are some of the cloud and virtualization-centric capabilities of the product, right? It can support up to 32 different VMs, but it can support different sizes, right? Different functions, different customers, different applications have different, workload requirements. So we have 4 different VM sizes: large, medium, small, entry, and you can mix and match those up to system capacity. Pay as you grow. You can buy the platform, but let's say that you only need a quarter capacity of the platform at a given time. That's what you buy. And the application demand or customer demands grow, you simply purchase more capacity, unlock more capacity on the platform. So again, kind of that pay as you grow, type cloud model. Deploy multiple network functions. So you can see a couple examples here. You can deploy ADC, SWAF, SSL VPN, DDoS, next-gen firewall, other functions from Array or third-party vendors. And as far as the orchestration, if you're talking more of maybe a private cloud or maybe an MSP or infrastructure as a service, SoftLayer is a great example. All their Array offerings are all orchestrated using a cloud management platform that plugs into the Array solutions and automates the provisioning of these things, right? And so whether that be something like OpenStack or a homegrown cloud management or ACI ATIC or things of that nature, the Array virtual appliances and many of the third-party virtual appliances have these integrations so that you can enable orchestration. Again, another cloud-centric capability. And then in the gray, of course, you see, I'm reiterating now, but the method by which we can provide guaranteed performance for these virtual appliances. Full resource segmentation, so resources for hypervisor management eliminates VM contention, and then again, dedicating that CPU, SSL, RAM, interfaces per VM for guaranteed performance. And here is an example, right? Kind of a visual illustration of the platform. You have the AVX, which is that's what we call our network functions platform, the AVX series, running Array OS with the running KVM there to virtualize the platform. And you can see a couple of Array functions there. And you can begin to see some of the partnerships here. Positive Technologies, which is a very interesting, very visionary, according to Gartner, a web application firewall provider. Fortinet, which we just wrapped up testing on in terms of their FortiGate, their next-gen firewall. Something I want to mention here is that according to our testing, and I think I have a slide on this as well, but Fortinet, the virtual FortiGate product, if you run that on a traditional general purpose server, and trying to keep it apples to apples in terms of vCPU and resources available, we're seeing over 4 times better performance for the virtual FortiGate on our platform than you would see deploying it on a server. It's crazy, right? So not only is it guaranteed performance, it's also a much higher level of performance if you take virtual appliances and run them on this platform. And again, this is just a visualization. There'll be more partners. And of course, you can deploy these in kind of different orders, or you can have them all be one, right? That's kind of the thing about this. We're seeing that, and I'll touch on this, I think, in my solutions, that, let's say you just really wanted to collapse a rack full of Fortinet FortiGates into something much more efficient. They could all be FortiGates, right? Or they could all be Array ADCs if you're doing ADC consolidation. Or if you have a situation that requires multiple different networking and security functions to support an application, you could deploy different vendors on the platform. Just to give you a quick idea of, I talked a little bit about how not only can you buy the platform in quarter capacity increments so that you can get into this technology and into this platform in a cost-effective manner, we also have 3 different sizes, right? Small, medium, large. And the top of the line there, I mentioned you can do up to 32 VMs, and then you kind of divide by 2. You do 16 on the 7600, up to 8 on the 3600, and so on. But each of these supporting that ability to do pay as you grow. And this is, a little bit of summary, right? Because we're looking at, we talked about these different deployment models. We talked about dedicated appliances. We talked about virtual appliances. And the one that I want to talk a little bit about too that we see sometimes out there is this, I guess integrated appliance or overly integrated appliance where people on one platform are trying to do web app firewall, ADC, SSL VPN, DDoS, all on one OS, all on one platform, right? And you'll kind of see what happens here, right? So, okay, let's look at it. For a dedicated appliance, you get best of breed. Yeah, go ahead and pick the one you want, buy the dedicated appliance. Performance, we talked about that. Yeah, you got performance. But agility and cost, probably not. The virtual appliances, we talked about that. Best of breed, yeah, sure. Go buy the virtual appliance from the vendor of your choice. Performance, we talked about that. Probably not so much. That's kind of the trade-off there. Agility, yeah, that's the upside. And the cost, that depends, right? Sometimes it can be more cost-effective. Other times, maybe not so much. The integrated appliance, yes, it's convenient, but best of breed, a lot of times vendors that have a lot of stuff put into one appliance, they're really good at one of them, maybe two. But the rest of those major functionality areas, not as good. Performance, turn them all on, performance goes down. Agility, still an appliance, still is what it is, going to always be what it is, sits where it is, needs to be installed, all that great stuff. And cost, these tend to be very expensive. So if we look at the Array AVX, kind of checks all the boxes, right? Best of breed, yeah, go ahead and pick, whether it's from Array or from a third-party vendor, pick the networking and security solution provider that you like. Go ahead and deploy it on the platform. By doing so, you're going to get guaranteed performance, and you're going to get a higher level of performance. You're going to pick up agility, right? Because that's still a virtual, that's still a virtual appliance you bought from whoever you bought it from. If tomorrow you want to deploy it somewhere else in a cloud, in a virtual environment, regular virtual environment, you can go ahead and do that. If you want to put something else on the platform tomorrow, you can go ahead and do that too. If you want to change sizes, whatever, you get that agility. And cost is very cost effective. I'm going to demonstrate that on a slide coming up. So that's an overview of the network functions platform and the problem we're setting up to solve and how we're solving it. And now looking at does reselling Array make sense for me? These aren't all the questions, but there's some of them. Do you sell security, right? So I talked a lot about how deploying FortiGate on this platform, the virtual FortiGate on this platform, you get guaranteed performance at higher level of performance. If you're selling FortiGate, that might be very compelling to your customers, right? Do you sell other third-party security solutions? Excuse me. If so, I can't speak for all of them, but perhaps deploying virtual editions of those products on this platform can also enjoy some of those benefits, guaranteed performance and higher level of performance. And also, can some of your customers benefit from consolidation, right? Do they have many racks worth of traditional security appliances and they're looking to have more of a private cloud environment, spaces at a premium, they want a smarter way to do things going forward. We can collapse the equivalent of 8 or 16 security appliances into one platform and offer tremendous savings in terms of space, power, cooling, etc. And that is something that's compelling to customers that you may be able to go in and make a sale based on that. You sell networking. So, traditionally we have offered a higher performing, more agile, more cost-effective solution versus something like F5. I call F5 out because, yeah, they're talking cloud, they're talking agility, but the most of their, the vast bulk of their revenues come from the traditional hardware appliance. And it's what they're out there really still pushing, right? They're having to manage their transition into a more cloud-centric organization. They're really out there to sell, high dollar, high priced, big iron hardware type solutions. And that's what they're motivated to sell, right? So we can come in and say, hey, look, don't reinvest in your next refresh into that traditional model, that traditional approach. You're going to overspend. It's not going to be flexible, so on and so forth, right? So if you sell networking, we have a very compelling solution here with the platform to go in and position something to customers. I think it's going to be much more attractive, much more cost-effective, much more agile, much more forward-looking and future-proof. an open platform for creating and bundled solutions and services, right? So I talked about maybe your organization, sells a lot of solutions around a Microsoft application or an Oracle application or SAP or any of the others, right? And you know that these applications need certain layer 4 through 7 services in order to support them properly. Maybe they need an ADC. Maybe they need a WAF. Maybe they need an SSL VPN for secure access. Maybe they need something else, right? And you can come in and say, look, I got a platform here. I put all the right components on there to support that application. Great levels of performance, guaranteed performance for that mission critical application. And I'm also putting something together here that's very cost effective, very space effective. So if you sell networking, this platform might be very attractive. Finally, I'm going to bring this full circle back to, if a reseller was in the olden days selling tons of traditional hardware appliances, and now we're running into a situation where customers are saying, no, I want the cheaper software thing here, or you know what, I'm not even going to buy it at all. I'm going to buy it as a cloud service. And what many resellers are doing is they're saying, you can't beat them, join them, right? And they're evolving to not only being, an integrator or a solution provider, but they're evolving to being a managed service provider, essentially, quote unquote, tier 2 infrastructure as a service provider, and now providing hosted cloud services, hosted managed services for these customers. If that's the case, this platform is a tremendous solution for being a service creation platform for networking and security services, cost effectively offer guaranteed performance services to customers. So there's more. Only have a certain amount of time on today's call, but if some of these resonate with you, then being a reseller of Array products and the Array Network Functions platform could be a good fit. And I'm going to go into just very quickly here a couple of the key solutions, right? I talked about security services, so let's talk a little bit about maybe a traditional security architecture, perhaps at a customer, at a company, at an enterprise, right? You've got perimeter firewalls, right? You've got an ADC that's doing, let's say, SSL encryption and decryption and maybe some web security. They've got an SSL VPN that's maybe doing the remote access traffic coming in. And then behind that, they have IPS, IDS, advanced threat protection, malware, et cetera, all these different things kind of, getting very complex here before you allow the users to connect to the applications and data that they're after, right? And I'm going to show you an example here. Now, I want to put this out there with a caveat. There's always going to be probably a big iron firewall out front, right? You're not going to collapse that onto this platform. It doesn't make sense architecturally. But so what I'm going to show you next is, go ahead and assume that to be kind of behind the big iron perimeter firewall. But it's still a very, very compelling solution for running all of the security services that that an organization may need. So moving from something like that more traditional model to something to where, hey, look, traffic can come into the platform. It can go into a next-gen firewall. From there, you can hesitate to use the word service chain, but you can decide, the order in which the traffic comes into a platform, and based on a particular, you can configure this in the platform GUI, right? So based on, hey, this is a certain traffic flow, it comes into the platform, it goes into the Fortinet, and it goes to whatever, the ADC, and then it goes to the application. Based on something else, maybe going the other direction, it goes to the WAF, and then it goes to the next-gen firewall, but it bypasses a certain product. You can deploy all these different security solutions in here, and you can define which flows go to which security appliances and have a very efficient, very consolidated approach to providing the security with greater visibility into how the traffic is being routed. Another point that I like to make here is you could actually take the ADC, put it first, right? And use this thing. We have situations where you have encrypted traffic that's coming, it's coming along, going from the user to, from the client, to the server, right? And you want to be able to do some some security, some inspection on this traffic, but it's encrypted, so you can't. You have no visibility into it, right? One of the cool things you can do with this platform is, spin up an ADC instance to do SSL intercept, offload the heavy lifting of SSL decryption, and take the decrypted traffic, then route it through this platform, which is a self-contained platform, to various security services running on it, and then put another ADC on, bookend it, and then re-encrypt the traffic and send it on its way to its final destination, right? So by deploying this as a security platform, wherever you need it in the network, you can intercept secure traffic, perform all the security you need on it, re-encrypt it, and go ahead and send it on its way. Agility and performance for FortiGate, another interesting thing here, right? So I took the platform, and what I did is in the instance of the platform running FortiGate, the virtual next-gen firewall, I compared it on the left, I compared it to traditional physical appliances, right? So we found that we can get the equivalent of 8 of these FortiGate appliances into one platform, right? So versus physical FortiGate, hey, it can be 4 times more space efficient. Then I talked about, taking the virtual FortiGate, which you would traditionally maybe run, let's say, 8 of them on a general purpose server. We found that you take those, you put them on our platform, you get 4 times better performance versus the virtual FortiGate running on a general purpose server. So you really begin to get a sense for the power of the platform there, that it's much more efficient, much more flexible, higher levels of performance, guaranteed performance, and you're picking up everything you want, agility and performance. Now I'm going to switch gears a little bit and go from security to networking, right? And in this case specifically, tap delivery or load balancing, right? And this is the traditional approach to load balancing, where you've got a pair of appliances per application, right? Whether it's Microsoft, SAP, VDI, Oracle, you name it, you got an application, you got a pair or more of load balancers that are providing high availability, performance, some security, et cetera, et cetera. Again, though, very, very fixed. It's got the performance, but again, it's very fixed, it's very expensive, takes up a lot of space, all those trade-off things that we were talking about. So maybe we do something like this instead. Maybe we use a platform, right? And we've collapsed all that down into a pair of network functions platforms, each running 8 instances of our VAPV, which is our virtual ADC product. And you have all the applications behind it, right? Much more streamlined, much more flexible, much more agile. You can always increase, decrease the size of these VAPVs. You can take them out, move them around, et cetera, et cetera. And you're going to see in a moment, it's got the equivalent performance too. That's the point we need to make, is that you're not sacrificing. Each of these VAPVs has guaranteed performance and the same level of performance as that dedicated appliance I showed on the previous slide. And now we're going to see some of the cost efficiencies, all right? In this case, I'm not going to make any secret of it. I had to pick a vendor. I happened to pick Kemp, okay? And the reason for that is that if I go to Kemp's website, they've got their prices posted right on the website. So I can be very confident in this in this model here, because I'm basically I'm taking what they've given me, right? So in this case, what I want to do is I want to support the equivalent of 32 ADCs or load balancers, right? That's what I'm trying to deploy. Essentially 32 load balancers, each with roughly 4 gig of throughput. So that's what we're after. Using the virtual appliance approach, right? I found a virtual appliance license for 5 gig throughput on the Kemp site. It was listed as $10,000 per virtual instance, right? So 32 of those, 320 grand, okay? Now this one, I also found a physical appliance on their website that it had 3.5 gig throughput, so maybe just under, right? So $7,000 per instance, okay? So times 32, 225 grand to take that approach, right? But let's look at it, right? There are other things to consider. With the virtual ADC approach, you have additional server costs, additional hypervisor costs, still some space, power, cooling. It is, however, portable and agile, remember? So it's good there, but guaranteed performance, no. Physical appliance, right? Additional server costs, no. Hypervisor costs, no. Space, power, and cooling, generally a bit more. Portable and agile, no. Guaranteed performance, yes. All right, so now let's look at our platform approach. We got 32 VAPV instances on there. Each has 4 gig of throughput, so we're meeting our requirements. And I spec'd it out. I just went to our price list and figured out what this would cost. It's $150,000. Okay, so it's half the price of the virtual approach. It's, I don't know, still much less expensive than the physical approach. But then you look at the kind of some of the intangibles, some of the other factors, right? Yeah, there's no additional server cost, no hypervisor cost. You're driving down power, space, cost of space, power, and cooling. It's agile, portable, and you got the guaranteed performance. Yes, take it with a grain of salt, but there's enough there for me to see that, for many users, this is a very compelling value proposition. Okay, before we conclude, again, I want to bring things full circle in a way. So, there are cases where the platform is not going to solve every problem for everybody every time, right? There's still cases where people may want a dedicated, purpose-built appliance that does one thing, like an ADC or an SSL VPN. It's just the way they want to run it, right? We have that, okay? So we have a full line of hardware-based appliances for ADC. We have a full line of hardware-based appliances for SSL VPN. If somebody wants to deploy these functions that we offer in a private cloud or a virtualized environment, yeah, we've got virtual editions, the VXAG, the VATV of our products, and they support all the common hypervisors, right? Whether it's VMware, Microsoft, KVM, Zen, even things like the Acropolis hypervisor for the hyperconverged Nutanix environment. So you can run these anywhere. And finally, for whatever reason, people want to build a hybrid environment, something of that nature. We offer our VAPD and our VXAG on a utility consumption basis in the public clouds such as AWS, Azure, vCloud Air. In addition, earlier I talked about SoftLayer, which is another infrastructure as a service provider. You can get our product there as well, right? So even though we feel like the network functions platform has a very strong value proposition, it's what's unique to Array. It's what we're bringing to market. It's the challenge we're solving. We realize that it's not one size fits all every time, and so we have the other deployment models. So I just want to emphasize that. And switching gears, so that's kind of that's the meat of today's presentation. But and if that sounds good, or you feel like this could potentially be of interest to your customers, that being a reseller of Array may make sense for your business, then we'd invite you to talk to us a little bit more about what we call the Array Total Value Partner Program. So it checks all the boxes, right? Joint field sales efforts, sales leads and marketing programs, sales and technical training, high margins and sales incentives, a very, very robust partner portal with deal registration, access to all the tools that you're going to need in order to be effective. And because I'm going to be packaging up this presentation and providing it to the attendees, I've included a territory map to just to know in terms of who you may want to reach out to in terms of or who you might potentially be working with if you should choose to do business with Array Networks. Yeah, just a quick example of the partner portal. And I'll, for those of you that are interested, and when I follow up with the presentation, I'll provide a link. I'll provide a couple of links. One to, where you go to get started with, applying to be an Array Networks reseller. And with that, we have about 10 minutes left before the hour. And, that concludes the meat of the presentation here. So I'm going to go see if I can find, I'm going to stop sharing here if that's okay. And let's take a look here if we have any. Vani, can you see if we have anything, any questions or any chat that we need to answer today?
Yeah, I'm looking at it. I don't see anything yet. So, hi attendees. If you guys have any questions, please put it in the Q&A box or the chat box, and Paul will answer those for you.
So while you guys are, while you're doing that, maybe I'll just give an opportunity to, to Rich and or David to say, mention any closing thoughts that you may have, and then Avani, it looks like you have some additional material here just to finish things off. Rich,
Yes,
Rich or Dave, you want to say something? Go ahead now, and we'll take it from there.
So if you're a reseller, things are simple. Since we have an agreement with Fintech, you order product.
So Abilene is,
Sorry, keep going, Rich.
You order a product, you have the same relationship you have for Fortinet or any other products that Fintech distributes. So it's pretty straightforward. Yet at the same time, you have full access to all product information, all press releases, all solution briefs, all data sheets by becoming an Array partner. So that's basically what I want to share.
Yeah, so we see a couple questions here. I think, Rich, you may have just touched on here. So I register as a partner with Array, but then I purchase through Fintech, correct? Yes, that's the model here, right? So the reason you register with Array is just because, again, we know this is how you gain access to all the sales enablement stuff, right? That's going to make you the most effective. But if you are, hey, you're on this call, right? It's almost by definition, you're I would think a Fintech reseller, or you're purchasing through Fintech. We've gone ahead and done all that groundwork. So in terms of SKUs and ordering and this and that, that's all in place. You can ask for, pricing or a quote or whatnot, or some of those materials from Fintech. And yes, you would be buying through Fintech. And let us see here. We have a question here. Do you go only through distributors, or do you also go direct? We are 95% going through distribution and through channel. Just whatever, in all honesty, we do have a couple select strategic accounts that buy, direct from Array, but it's the exception, not the rule. The majority of our efforts are focused on the channel and working with distribution. So, yeah, you're not. If the question is coming from if the reason for that question is coming from are you going to run into competition from Array selling direct? That's not likely. Let's do one last look here. So yeah, Avani, I'm not seeing any additional questions here.
you see the one more from Abilene that she's asking, does a product have to be validated by Array before she can run into the platform, or can she run anything that runs on KVM?
Sure. So it basically, I guess I call it, there are two categories of third-party solutions that can run on the platform, right? So there's one group where, Array has worked with that particular vendor to go through perhaps a rigorous performance testing, functional testing, and so on. And we have a tag that we put on those, platform certified, and you'll see that on some of the documentation that we put out there. And what do you get the benefits of that? Well, of course, you know how it runs. But one of the other things that we do through that process is we understand the sizing, right? There's things that we know from having gone through that testing, to where if somebody wants this particular SKU or this particular model from a third-party vendor, that we know that goes on a medium instance, or we know that goes on a large instance, right? So, and we have things like deployment guides, right? Things that make the installation, the configuration of them much more streamlined, right? So there's benefits you're going to get from the ones that have gone through the process, okay? But no, it's a KVM server, right? In theory, if a particular third-party function, no matter where you get it, has a build for KVM, we've found in our experience that it runs, right? So there's going to be over time a growing ecosystem of Array platform certified third-party vendors, but in a way, it's a KVM server, right? And you should be able to put other functions on it and have it work. Will it work 100% of the time, all the time, every product? Don't know. Can't say. Let's see here.
Okay, do we have any more questions? Okay, it looks like we're about there. Thank you, Paul, again, for taking your time out to present and educate our partners. We truly appreciate your support.
No
So
problem.
I would, yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, since we have no further questions, I will like to show you our sales territory map. If you have any other questions later, you can directly contact your regional sales rep and they can answer those for you. Also, I would like to show you our partner portal. So by registering with us on our partner portal, you can have access to previous webinar recordings, presentations, partner promotions, etc. And it only takes a couple of minutes to register. I'm not able to log in right now. I don't know why. But yeah, you can go ahead and register with us on Partner Portal if you're not a partner yet, and you will have access to all those benefits as well. Okay, it's drawing time. I have already included everyone's name on here, and I'm going to do a final drawing for 2 people to win a $25 Amazon gift card. Okay, congratulations, Evelyn Miller and Philip Roberts. I will send you later the e-code to your $25 Amazon gift card. And once again, thank you everyone for joining us. We will see you on April 19 with a webinar on 40 solutions. Thank you.